So if there's electricity, I would get notification in the house that there's electricity. So I didn't get another, is that something is burning? So I went outside. Lo and behold, it was my generator that was on fire. So immediately I got outside and I saw that fire was burning from one side of the generator. I ran out and I started shouting, fire. I went to overdrive. I powered it off, but I did not remember now to turn off the fuel tank. Now, again, remember that there was an extra 25 liters that I had not used. Fire already started escalating. My neighbors from the other block started to rush to bring their fire extinguisher to put out the fire. The first one couldn't put out the fire. That was the point I froze. Hi guys, welcome to the show. My name is Maranatha Abutu. You can call me Mara. And as you already know, this is Rave with Mara podcast on Spotify and other podcasting platforms like Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, etc. Today's topic is how I almost burnt the building that I live in. But before we go into that gist and what transpired, we are going to help like two people solve their problems. These questions were sent in last week, and talk a bit about how difficult content creation has been for me, especially on YouTube, and how hard it is generally, and people don't get to see the work that you put in. When we come out from the short break, we would start off with the questions and get into the rest of the conversation. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. The first question says that, hi Mara, I love your podcast and how honest you are with your responses. Thank you very much. I know it may not seem like much now, but please don't stop. Anyway, my question is, do you think rich men attract women who do not care for emotional attachments? And maybe people who say they like long distance relationship also is from not wanting connection with their partners. This question looks like something I had seen on the internet, I think last week as well, or during this week as well. I'm recording this episode very late. This episode is being recorded on a Thursday and is supposed to go up on Friday, which is tomorrow. So I know that I have seen this, but we'll talk about why I'm recording this episode today and, all of that. But I don't know if I am in the right frame of mind to answer the question, but I'm going to try as much as possible to answer as honest as I would be. So this question about long distance relationship, I know that I have spoken about how a lot of people who say that they want long distance relationship, if you're being frank, majority of them are people who may not want the physical connection. It doesn't mean that they are not connected in other ways. I think I've spoken on this podcast about different types of intimacies: emotional, intellectual, spiritual, and I think recreational, right? Yes, I remember that. This is outside of sex, because I know that when people mention intimacy, what their mind starts screaming is sex. Yeah. But I think that I know someone who has been in a long distance relationship, two of my colleagues, who both of them have been in a long distance relationship, and it's been working out perfectly well for them. And I don't know that it takes away the connection for them, but I think I understand where this person is coming from. And calling every day, speaking to them every minute, being in each other's lives as much as possible, cover for the lack of physical intimacy. To be fair, I actually do think that there are people who are in long distance relationship who are way closer than people who are even living together, or people who are living in the same city. So, but I think people who want that also do not actually want physical. There could be other forms of connection, but you see that physical. I feel like if you like long distance and you're not struggling with it, because I know I've heard stories of people who are in long distance relationships and they are always complaining like how very difficult it is, and how they've not been able to see their partner, how they miss them, and blah, 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 blah. But if you are with a person who genuinely says, oh no, I don't care that you're so far away, oh no, you're fine, we are good, let's just be talking every time, then maybe you guys would eventually have a problem when you start to live together or you're within the same space for a long period of time. So like I said, most of these things have their own advantages and disadvantages, and I just hope and pray that whoever is doing long distance isn't doing it from a place of, I don't like this person enough to want to be in the same space with them, and they're hiding under the disguise of, oh no, I can do long distance and we're fine. So yeah, and then the other question is said, rich people attract women who may not care for emotional attachment. We are still on at the same thing. So again, people who are okay with rich people's lifestyle, meaning they have to be in so and so city for how many months before they come back. I feel like it also falls under the umbrella of long distance. And women who may want that are people who can, maybe they crave some other form of attachment to this person other than physical. Again, it's hard to even tell if this set of women who like this set of men are also not doing it from a place of, oh, this person can provide for me and he has the money that I need, I don't need him around. Because I've also heard stories of, I've heard a story when I was in school of a man who had, I think, 2 wives or so. One of them is like permanently based somewhere in a different country, while the other one, he lives with the other one here in Nigeria. Once in a while, he travels over there. And every time I hear that story, then I just used to be like, something I can do. Like, genuinely, something I can do. Like, if I am that person that doesn't care for physical attachment to my partner, then by all means, I can make do with your money and do businesses and have money and, just see the world. It doesn't necessarily mean that maybe they are cheating or not, I don't know. But it just means that they may not be people who crave or want emotional attachments. Yeah, and it's a thing, actually. There are a lot of women who don't care for emotional attachment. And it's sad because they end up with men who may want it, but are not ever going to get it, maybe because they have ended up attracting this set of women who are okay with them going out. Because trust me, I have said it on this podcast a couple of times where I am like, I have only ever done long distance relationship once. And I think I had said this on the episode with Rachel where we're talking about should we go on a break or break up? Yeah. And I remember stating that I have only done long distance once, and that was my first relationship. And I know the shege that both of us use our eyes to see. So I may not even be that person that we are constantly having, touching and all that. But let me know, let me be aware that you are here. Let me be aware that I can turn to you and you're there. I don't know how to explain this, but I don't know that I would thrive again in long distance. I don't think it's something I want to do. Yeah. Maybe if I put my mind to it, I can actually do it. Because again, I'm not somebody who cannot do without touchy, feely, and blah, blah, blah. I can do without it. But I don't know. It just makes me feel like I can't trust you at the other end. And I feel like I'm going to be always calling myself the fool if I am going to be staying faithful to you and you are at the other end of the world doing whatever. And again, I keep saying that people who cheat are not just cheats. There are a couple of other things, like it could be a killer. You could kill me, basically. You could expose me to different kinds of diseases. And you could also expose me to, a side chick who is as crazy as hell. Long distance maybe sometimes is an unwritten rule. I don't know. I'm just saying, this is my opinion. Anyway, this is my opinion. So don't fight me for it. It's my opinion. I feel like maybe there's an unspoken rule that body no be firewood. So maybe if you're there and I'm here and, you're feeling some of a way, you are allowed to. And I don't know that I can deal with that sort of thing. I don't know. But anyway, that's just how I feel. But to answer your question, I genuinely know people who are in long distance relationships and they miss their partners. So it may not be from what you're saying that they don't want emotional physical attachment to this person. And you could also be right. Again, like I said, a lot of persons would much rather, oh, I don't really like you like that, but I like your money. So why not come and spend your money on me? They may not be cheating as well, and they may also be cheating. So, but again, long distance for me, it just makes me feel like I don't know what you're doing, and I can't be bothered with thinking about you every time and being worried that, oh, is this person banging other people? Is this person, doing so and so with other people? And would you even have the decency to tell me that, before we get together, oh, we need to do this and do that? So, because a lot of men are just liars and cheats and killers. So yeah, that's that. Second person says, "Hi Mara, I am starting to really enjoy your podcast and how versatile your topics are. Thank you. I aim to please." My issue is that video you talked about dating apps and dating men in Abuja. Oh yeah, I remember this. So I met a man on Tinder and he promised that he was looking for something serious. Tell me why I met this man and it turned out he was married. Why did he hide that information for 3 months? And the moment we started sleeping together, he now saw the need to divulge it, telling me he's planning to leave her and she's not a spec. Now I am in love with this man and he's telling me he's married. What am I supposed to do now? Hey God. Should I look for his wife on social media and tell her that this man that is forming sweet is a cheating husband? Like, there's so many things here. I remember talking about the video. I remember the podcast where I was saying that, okay, I think the title of that thing was dating in Abuja. Yes, I think that was the title of that. And I was saying how, if you've been on Tinder or, any of those dating sites, you are people or men somewhat assume that you are there to look for hookup. And how a lot of them are actually looking for hookup. And then men in general in Abuja, like young men, well, not just young men, but men in general, like a large percentage of the men in Abuja are actually looking for hookup. Then you meet people at the bar, and you go out to the park. When people approach you, is almost like, oh, I like you for sex, and I want to be with you for sex. And I think that's what she's referring to. That podcast is there somewhere. Look for it. Don't stress me. Anyway, the part where you meet a married person, and somehow your sixth sense is telling you that this person is married. I've been there. When I used to be really religious with my newsletter on Substack, Rave Notes, I think one of the articles I had written there was, I met a married man or something. I fell in love with a married. I fell in love with a man and he was married. If you haven't read that story, it's there somewhere, but I'm going to give a piece of that story here. So it's crazy how you meet a person and this person starts to act really mature. This is not to shade my age mates. This is not to say that, young men are not mature or whatever. But I feel like when you meet a married man, there are just some certain traits that this person starts to exhibit that makes you know that they have a degree in handling women. I'm sorry for using that word, but for lack of a better grammar for it, there's a way that a man starts to speak to you. And you know that this person has several years of experience dealing with women. And because they will say the right words. Take you to the right places. It's crazy how everything will just start to, piece itself together. Bit by bit by bit. Like you. I also met, but his own wasn't on, it was on social media. I started to talk and, I started to feel the vibe. I know I've said it before, or maybe I didn't say it here. I said it on my Instagram. I am a sucker for men that speak really well. Kill me. Finish me. If you're a man that speaks well and you have, I don't know how to describe the voice because I can't say it's baritone voice because baritone voice does not shake me. How can I say it's feminine voice? Because again, I have people that speak like that. But there is a way that you speak to me on the phone. I'm gone. I'm gone. And I know I've also said that if I meet you from afar, if I see a person, what attracts me to them first is their courage. So I'm a sucker for men that speak well. I'm also a sucker for men who are very responsible in the way that they carry themselves. So maybe in a way, I also attract married men. That'd be a very silly thing to say, but I'm joking. This just happened once. I mean, I fell in love with this person and, the whole thing. I just created my page, my second page. I used to have, the one I'm using for Rave podcast now has been my oldest Instagram page, but I created this new Instagram page in 2018. No, 2017. And at the time I met this person. So I just created it. At that time, the name of the Instagram was Ene Abutu. And so I started to, gain new followers and, people started to chat with me a bit. And I started to talk with this person every day. Yeah, how are you? And where are you from? I like the name. Now I've changed it to Mara because people cannot kill me. It was always a conversation starter for a lot of men. People are not creative, but it was like, oh, you don't look like you're from here. I'm like, oh yeah, I know. My family has a bit of this and that. So it was the same way this guy came into my DM. I'm saying guy, but he's a man. A full-fledged man. And he started to go, oh yeah, I like your name. Where are you from? Blah, 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 blah. I started to, talk for a while. After like 2 weeks, started to send voice notes. Yo, I was hooked. I'm not joking. I was hooked. And, we exchanged phone numbers and started to talk. And this was when I was in Ilorin. Yeah, I was about to go for service. And I think this was 2018, actually, not 2017. I was preparing to go for service. I had to go to Ibadan for conference to present my project work. They don't call it thesis. I don't know. Undergraduate work anyway in Ibadan. And he was like, oh, let's see before you go and blah, blah, blah. And we went to hang out. I'm not going to call the name of the place. We went to hang out. It's a very popular place in Ilorin. And I saw this man when he came to pick me. So I have a rule of thumb. I would not give you my address. I would give you maybe a very close landmark to where I live, so I can work out to meet you. Because if I don't know you, if anything starts to, you can always, I've heard stories of men that can be that crazy. They'll come to your house and be banging your door and whatever. I don't like drama. I look like I like drama, but I'm sorry, I don't like drama. So I walked out, and when he was in the car, obviously, when I walked close to the car, he gave me his plate number. I walked around and I took a picture of his plate number, sent to my friend, and everybody was like, oh, be careful. This was Ilorin, and this was the time where Yahoo was really, a thing in Ilorin. There were SaaS people almost everywhere. And so I entered the vehicle. It was one of these men too who didn't used to have a lot of pictures on social media. So it was just the one profile picture and that was it. That should have been a red flag, right? But a girl heard the voice and she was hooked. Now I met this person, fine man, good courage, hey God. I said I was so, hey God. And then, as we were drinking, I like palm wine. You guys, I don't know. So as we were drinking and chatting, out of the blue, I just threw the question. You look like you're married. Are you married? And this guy, he just went quiet. And then he goes, after a few seconds, he goes, how did you know? What gave me away? And he was like, I know I can't lie. You were a very smart lady. There's nothing I could have said, blah, 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 blah. So, dear sender, I can't tell you that I've been here, I've been there, but you, as a person, you have to have principle. Even when you know that this thing is your mumu button, you have to have principle, because I always used to think about it from a place of, if it was you, if it was your mother at the other end, how would you feel about it? So no matter how crazy I get or how stupidly in love I get with you, the moment I find out that you are hooked to another person, that's my MO. There's nothing you're going to say that's going to keep me there. So I'm sorry that you fell in love with this person and it turned out that he lied. At least mine didn't lie, but we have been speaking for like a full month plus. And, the love kept, building and building. But fortunately for me, I had that principle, not rule of thumb. I had that principle that married men were a no-go area for me. And it turned out that there were two things that he was, made it impossible for it to even work out. Because he was telling me he wasn't married. Those... I feel like if I say this part, my friends are going to choke me. I don't really like military men. And because I usually have this fear that you can be sent to war at any point in time and they're going to make me a widow. And I don't think it's something I want to do. And I think this also stems from my fear for long distance relationships, because I always think that if you are away, burning up a firewood, one day you're going to do it. And because I also have an inherent fear for cheats, I don't know. I don't want to put myself in that, So it turned out that this guy is a pilot. He works for the military. And, that also explains his courage. And, how because I was dealing with a lot and he always had the right things to say. Oh, can I come soothe you? Oh, can I come rub your back? Oh, can I come do this? And I'm just really like, who is this person? Who is this person? And of course, it was really kind. And I think I like kind men. So, extremely kind men. There's a difference, you guys. Maybe we're going to talk about it next week. There's a very big difference between a person who is readily available. And I think that is what I like, in my person. Be available. And, that's just it. So for falling in love with these people, at least mine was not wicked. He didn't hide the information from me. He told me straight up, oh yeah, I have a baby mama. We're not married per se, but, the family is trying to get me to marry her. Yada, yada, yada. But I already knew that there was maybe a part of that story that he hid. There's a difference between when this person is not living with you and when you say that, oh, I don't really like this person, I don't want to marry this person. So what will that happen? So he was honest with me about everything, but it is what it is, And also, military people are a no-go for me because anything can happen anytime. I know that you can be in your house and trailer will jam you, and you will die. Like the situation that happened with me this week as well, which I'm going to be getting into very soon. I could have died at home as well, but I just feel like there are just some things I don't want to have to deal with in my life. Life is already too short for a lot of persons. Most of us have lived half of our life and we don't even realize it. So why would I be living the rest of my life being worried sick that my partner or my husband is out there somewhere fighting a war that probably doesn't concern us? Like when Tinubu was trying to make us go and fight Niger. So please, military people are a no-go for me. And this is not to say that people who are doing it, I appreciate your work. Thank you for sacrificing for Nigeria and, your country, wherever it is you are. But for me, I just think it's not something I want to have to deal with. And shout out to women out there who are holding it together and keeping the fort for your men and your family. Yeah, shout out to you. And as for telling the wife, I don't know if that is a trouble you want to go through, or maybe you can. For me, I didn't bother at the time. I don't know if you should look for the wife. I don't know, to be frank with you. But if that's something you want to do, I think it is admirable. And it is admirable because maybe the wife is not aware. Because again, I keep saying that cheating is not the deal breaker for a lot of women. And I'm starting to realize that even some of my friends, it's also not a deal breaker for them because they think, oh, every man, cheating is engraved in the DNA of every man, both. So again, if maybe you can tell her, and it's also possible that it is not a deal breaker for her, but at least she knows now to protect herself against, STDs and, other things, just to be in the know, because she feed the house again, they'll go pour her acid, because a lot of side chicks are doing the most, But yeah, I commend you. If it's something you want to do, I think you should. And I'm sorry, I don't know why men do usually lie, but it is what they do, I guess. So, sorry about that. I hope that you find your person. Dating apps are not the way to go, but there are actually men, like good men out there, who are ready and genuinely wanting to be in a relationship. So, I wish you well. Okay, so now we'll get into. Okay, yeah, I'll save the fire incidents for the last. The other thing I'll talk about is content creation and how hard it has been for me. So, as a writer, I've not been able to complete my work. I had envisioned that I would complete it by August, September, so that I would give out the book for review, critics, and whatever before editing and publishing. But as life will have it, my phone got bad in July, so I didn't have a phone to shoot videos for YouTube or do a podcast. But I had just gotten my laptop in May, so my laptop made it seem like I was online and I wasn't really online. I don't know if you understand that. So I was sort of using my partner's phone to shoot videos, and so I had to save money to get me another phone. Plus, the phone I tried for me, let me know, I got that phone in 2020. So, and with the new upgrades in iPhones and all of that, you know how iPhones are. Once they start to produce, the more they produce, the more the other one starts to malfunction. So I started feeling bad and started to concentrate on the things I should be concentrating on, if that makes sense. Things like, oh wait, why is this happening to me? Oh, I just got this really expensive laptop. Why am I having to save another large amount of money again? My rent will soon be due. I started to think about all of these things, and then I started to say, oh, so because I was dealing with all these thoughts in my head, I couldn't write. I couldn't produce anything. So I decided, you know what? I'm not going to rush this work. I'm just going to drop it and figure out how to fix my immediate problems. And so throughout August and September, I didn't actually write. Yeah, I didn't write. And eventually I was able to get a phone in August. Yeah, I was able to get a phone in August, and I was just, I started to now focus on, but wait, the books I have written, how much money have I made from them? Which is a very bad way, a very wrong way to start thinking, because again, as an indie author, it is difficult to make money because you are your own writer, maybe editor, because you don't have money to pay somebody to edit it for you. You are also your own marketer. You are also your own publisher, and everything else. So there's a lot of stress that goes into the whole production and writing of a book and all that. And I do everything myself, from book covers to setting up the book and everything else, to looking for publishing companies that can, traditional publishing companies that can publish the book, and I pay them upfront and all of that. So I started to think about, oh wait, but why am I working so much and I have so little to show for it? I put so much time into writing, and I'm not making money. The books that I have in stores, I haven't made a dime from there. So why am I even killing myself over the one that I'm writing right now? Bad way of thinking again. Now I've started to focus on the podcast and how I have not been able to, my numbers have not been increasing as I thought they would in the first year. And I started to also worry that maybe I needed to quit, which is why I decided to pick this question. The one where the person says, please do not quit. It felt, when I read it again. And I said, sometimes God sends you people in a very weird way. Because, again, through June, July, August, September, all I've been worried about is, what am I doing? Because the only thing that actually pays my bills right now, and I haven't written any research essays, which were like my go-to, the ones that you just write and within 3 days you're done and you have your money, and so I haven't had that in recent time. So the only thing that actually pays my bill is my 9 to 5. So I started to say, why not just focus on my energy on my 9 to 5 and forget about the podcast or And even so, forget about the writing and just write for leisure, that kind of thing, and not writing to get money, because that part is very stressful. So again, I went on Amazon. Then I went to what's it called, Payoneer, which is the paying platform, and I had a minus, because tell me why the money I had, small dollars I had made, which is not even up to it's not up to $100 I had made within the last 1-2 years that I've been writing. Tell me why I went there, and all of a sudden Payoneer is saying that they are now going to be deducting $25 for every less than $2,000 transaction that you make yearly. So on Amazon, we don't make as much money as indie authors, because everything that we have is on the online. So, and if people don't know you as much, they're not going to be buying your book. So you're going to be spending money on marketing and other things where money is not coming back, and Payoneer is going to be taking money out of it. So I was going through it, let me not lie. And then when I went to the podcast as well, I found out that, my number started reducing. So previously I would have like 35 listens, 50 listens, and now I would go sometimes on the Spotify one, the one for audio, and I'll see like 7, 8, 10, 13, and I was feeling like, what's going on? If this thing is not working, then maybe I should just quit. Only me, I pull myself inside depression, I pull myself out, put myself inside depression, and then I went to the YouTube as well. Oh God, when am I going to get monetized? So content creation is a lot of work, because as you're working, people assume that you're already making money, and so they start to heap their own problems on your head, not knowing that to put out content is hard work. And then you put out content knowing fully well that a lot of people are going to have a different opinion from what you're saying, and they're going to attack you, or they're going to insult you. I've had people come on the YouTube, the video podcast, and say all sorts of things. And some of those comments I restrict, some of them I just let it be. Some I engage, and I just say, thank you for your opinion. And I just let it be. And, I started to complain of how I don't understand how YouTube algorithm works. Because sometimes you check your views and your hours, and you see like 13 point something hours within, a few hours of posting your video. You go back the next day and you see that it has dropped to 5 hours. How? This is not even the general one where they say you have to make the 4K hours in 4,000 hours, yes, in 12-month cycle. This is now the video analytics itself. And, I've been battling with that, and also battling with, oh Lord, why am I even doing all of those things? This your plans for me? And then somebody somewhere will come and sit down and be telling me how you're making so much money, you don't remember your family members. And these are not immediate family members, these are family these are external family members that don't know what you're dealing with. They don't know jack. They don't know how you feel. They don't know whatever is going on with your life, because they see you online. They see that your video looks fine. You look fine in the video. You're adding cheeks. So, you're adding, queen. What are you eating? They just think that they can heap their own family problems on your head. They don't know what you're dealing with. But anyway, content creation is hard. It's hard work. And if you're any creative out there, and now me, I chose the two hardest parts, being online and also writing, which are really, really difficult. And I don't know, I just hope and pray that my YouTube starts to turn out for the better, or my algorithm for the audio podcast starts to turn out for the better. If not, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how much longer I can keep pushing myself. Maybe next week I'll come and tell you people who have been doing it, because some creators that I know, small people like me, have also reached out to me to ask me how I am doing it. And this is me telling you that everything that you're going through, everything that you think about, I also think about them. And it became worse when my phone got bad and I had just my laptop. So I had to, start looking at a lot of these numbers, start, analyzing this, that, and doing all of that. But maybe next week. Today is a gloomy one. I'm just telling you guys how difficult it's been, and how for a while you won't see any growth, but you have to wake up and keep pushing yourself to do it. So maybe next week, I don't know, I'll chip in a few of the ways that I try to push myself to go, because only me will look at the numbers and scream and complain. Only me will come back and say, you know what, I'm still going to keep doing this thing. whether the devil likes it or not. This is what I have signed up for, and this is what I'm going to do. But the only thing that is suffering right now is my writing, because as bad as it gets, I always still try to put out podcast. As bad as it gets, which is why I know it deep in my heart that I love this thing that I'm doing. I love this thing that I'm doing. I know amount of, you have been stuck on 354. No, 374. Why am I? Hold on. I can't be calling out fake numbers for myself when I just literally need all the numbers that I can get. I know there's 3 and 4, but I don't know what the middle one says. Oh yeah, 374. So I've been stuck on 374 subscribers on my YouTube for a very long time. I'm not joking, for like 2 months or 3 months. No, it's not. So I'm sorry. I'm lying. It's not. But I mean, for like an entire month, all through September, I think I've been stuck on 374, and that can be really depressing. And again, like I said, my watch hours keep reducing because I think I started really doing the video podcast in November or December last year. So I'm almost a year and I'm still stuck at almost 300 hours. And it's really sad. But what am I going to do? And I just figured I like doing the video. I like doing the podcast. Yeah, I like doing the podcast. And so I'm going to keep doing it. But this is a plea that you should please share my content, get people to subscribe, watch it, not just get them to subscribe, because it's one thing to, give family members to subscribe, but I actually need to watch hours as well, because by November, a lot of hours, they've been deducting actually, because I put out my first video May of 2022, where I read an article about feminism or so. But I actually didn't post anything again until November or December of last year. So I know that from next 2 months, I'm going to have like a lot of deducted hours, which means I'm literally going to be back to square one. Bottom line is content creation is hard, and especially if you're looking to be monetized and looking to be able to reach other ways, because being monetized also means that you get to reach other people and have a lot more audience and whatnot. But yeah, that's that on that. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is the fact that I almost burnt down the building that I live in. So, the first time I started my podcast, April of 2022, was my Pioneer episode. I know I talked about how I was looking for a house and how I moved into this apartment. And, all of that, and all the drama with the, not caretaker. What was it called now? With all the drama with the estate manager, a lot has also happened. The guy is crazy. I'm not joking, like batshit crazy. He locks the gate on people who are trying to move out and, gives them some kind of bills. And I don't know, I've had it up to here, though I've not had any personal issue with him after that, my meter issue anymore. If you are lost, go and listen to Pioneer episode. It's not on YouTube, meaning because I started the podcast YouTube November, December last year. So, and my podcast started April. So my Pioneer episode is on Spotify and other podcasting platforms. I know I talked about how crazy the guy was and whatnot. And now, you guys know I work from home, right? If you don't know now, I work from home. Which means that I have a standby power supply, which is a generator. If you know Solman Fireman generator, the one that is painted red and black, he had like the red bars around it, but it's black. I think it's 2.2 kVA. Yes, 2.2 kVA. Now, I had an issue with where I was going to keep it in the estates, and how, I eventually had to keep it in the part that is designated for my car park. So because I don't have a car, every room or apartment have a car parking space directly in front of their door or something. So because I don't have a car, I decided, instead of moving the generator to the other extreme and doing the wiring, because I don't know how that was going to be done, because I live in the there's a block, then my own block is here, and then there are other blocks around, right? So taking it to the other side of the gate also means that it's going to be disturbing a few of the other persons whose distance lives close to them. So they didn't create a generator space for a generator. So what I did was I installed a generator house in my car park space, which is a few meters away from my window. And then I don't know if I told you guys about when the first scarcity thing was going on, and I had said something about shout out to my friend Sharon Abimbola, who works with Emma Deb. She's a HR there. Before the spike happened, she called me, so I got like bulk fuel, like 50 or 60 liters bulk fuel. So as at the time I got the second 25 liters, I was looking for where to keep it, because I was like, it's a bit scary for me to keep another liter of fuel, 25 liters of fuel, close to where I keep my generator. But all of these issues, I thought of putting it at the other end of the block. But unfortunately, somebody else had put something else there. And so I couldn't exactly... If you guys are hearing the sound of this bed, the bed is just, I don't know. It just came, and I'm sorry about that. I don't know if I'll be able to edit it out. If I'm not able to edit it out, sorry. Anyway, and my window is open. I can't go and close it right now. Please, just bear with me if you hear the sound of the bird. And so I decided, you know what? At some point, I even thought, okay, why not take it to my partner's house? But I just figured my partner is not there a lot of the time, and people come in and go. Like, what if they are not aware that there's fuel in the house, which is also risky, putting fuel in the house where you are not around? What if somebody comes and his brother stays in the house? So what if he comes one day and he lights, So, you know what? I just said, I'm going to just figure out a way to keep this thing. So on 1st of October, I was scheduled. Usually I record my episodes on Sundays, especially if I have a guest. If it's a guest episode, because I know that people are usually very busy during the week, so they won't have time. But me, I work from home, so I have time all my mornings. I have time to do other things that I have to do. So I scheduled that episode for Monday because I wasn't feeling fine. I had cramps through the weekend, and I just said, you know what, just have this episode on a Monday. I didn't know that God was trying to save me from something. I didn't know. Because we kept pushing that episode. We're supposed to have that episode since June. We kept pushing it. Because when he reached out to be on the show, I said, my phone is bad right now. You'll see me online because I'm using my laptop. But when I'm able to get mine, then we'll be able to set up something, blah, 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 blah. And, again, we talked about it in August. It still didn't happen. And then September came and I said, you know what? Let's just fix a date. And we fixed the date, and he wasn't going to be available that morning. Again, I'm only available during the week in the mornings. So he said, okay, I should just pick a date and work with it. And then I picked 1st of October. And I didn't even realize at the time I picked this date that it was going to be a holiday. My mind didn't even, but I just said Monday, next Monday. And so that morning, I woke up. Remember I said I wasn't feeling so good over the weekend. So I texted him on WhatsApp. It was on Instagram. He had reached out, so I got his number, and then I texted him on WhatsApp, and I said, if I feel like I should have reminded you yesterday that our episode was for today, but I wasn't feeling so well, so that's why I didn't reach out. But it's okay if you forgot. If there's a way we can do this thing tomorrow, which is Tuesday now, then it's fine. And he didn't deliver. So I said, you know what? Call. So I called him, and he was like, I'm so sorry. Don't worry, I'll still be on my way. I just need to deliver something, and then I'll be on my way. And I said, okay, no problem. So I took my time. I stood up, cleaned my place a bit, had my bath, and it was like past 11 now. And I texted again, and I said, I wanted to text. In short, I had typed a whole text, like, don't worry about it. My place is a bit difficult to find, especially if you're coming from Airport Road or something. People who are around, town here, they can easily locate it. But people who are not usually around this side is a bit of a hassle to find it. So I said, okay, if it's a difficult thing for you, maybe you can still reschedule. Something else just told me, call. Then I called, and he was telling me, I'm at Keke Junction. I don't know where I am. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know if I am lost, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, that means you're close to me. Maybe you're like at Shema filling station or something, or somewhere around. And I told him to describe, and somehow we did all that. And then I realized, again, it's a Monday. I post on Mondays on social media on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays and Saturdays, right? So I had posted that morning there was no electricity. So I said, you know what? I am going to power on my generator, charge the phone so that I can use it for the podcast. And then I turned on my generator around a few minutes past 11. I plugged my phone. I brushed my teeth. And, his call letter came in that, he's close. He's seeing the tall building. Because I had described that when he's coming, you see a tall building painted pink or something. I don't know, whatever that color is. a shade of nude, sort of, but it's a little bit on the pink side. And he called that, I'm right in front of them. I'm like, okay, my building is right beside it. So, mind you, my generator was on. I left it. I walked outside my gate, walked 2 minutes down. I saw him and I waved and he drove. And I walked back in, sat down, and he was like, what are we talking about? And I said, I already told you we're talking about this. And he said, okay. So this dilemma were something we're supposed to discuss together. And we sat down and I'm like, okay, I just need the phone to charge up a bit. I don't know why there's no electricity to do of all this. There's always been electricity. I haven't powered that generator. And I fixed it Wednesday of last week. And I did not use it all through that week. I just felt, I haven't serviced it. I needed a new engine oil because I usually change the engine oil myself. And, I needed a new plug. And this guy was supposed to clean the fuel or whatever they do for servicing. And I paid this guy and he left. So we only tested it. There was electricity all through the week. So I didn't get to use it. So I powered that generator while I went to, before he came. Then I walked out. Generator was still on. I came back in. I sat down. I was working on my laptop and I said, this is what we're talking about. And blah, blah, blah. And, we're talking randomly. And the next thing, I started to perceive that something was burning. So, I don't know if I've said it here that I have migraines a lot. Before I got my glasses, it used to be like every other day. And the migraines were so crazy, sometimes I would be crying. Migraines I used to have are like really, I think they said it's hereditary because I've tried every method. I've gone different prescriptions. It will work today, tomorrow it will not work. Because of that migraine, maybe, one of the things that causes me migraine is smell. So I have a very sensitive nose. So I perceive things instantly. And before you know, I'm like, nope. So I sat down and then I started to perceive that something was burning. And because I knew I had not even turned on my gas that day, I decided, I said, okay, is it that they brought electricity? And I have an indicator in the house. So if there's electricity, I would get notification in the house that there's electricity. So I didn't get another, is that something is burning? So I went outside. Lo and behold, it was my generator that was on fire. So immediately I got outside and I saw that fire was burning from one side of the generator. I ran out. I started shouting fire. I went to overdrive. I powered it off, but I did not remember now to turn off the fuel tank. Now, again, remember that there was an extra 25 liters that I had not used. I bought this fuel first week of August or last week of July. So I had not used, we have electricity, so I haven't used about 25 liters and another 10 liters that was there. So I went to, as I powered it off, I quickly ran, got a bucket of water. My brain didn't boot at that point that I needed to put detergent. So I ran, carried the water, I poured. Immediately I poured, fire escalated. Now, I screamed fire again. And then I came, grabbed the 25 liters of fuel that was close to the gen house. I ran towards the side. And then before people started to run out, then the person that was with me also ran out. When I shouted the first time, he ran out with me. And, all the confusion and everything. I had already moved the distance. Fire already started escalating. My neighbors from the other block started to rush to bring their fire extinguisher to put out the fire. The first one couldn't put out the fire. That was the point I froze. And then they brought another water and I said, detergent. So I was saying, add detergent. But my feet were frozen. I couldn't move. It took me like a complete 60 seconds. Mind you, this fire was escalating at the point I did not even know that. There's usually a connector that connects to your meter or your turnover or switch over or whatever that thing is called. and then it also links to the meter. Again, like I said, this thing is in my own car park space. So it wasn't so far off from the building. The wire again that connects the generator to the meter is, again, towards the roof area. So by the time that 60 seconds I was like, thereabout I was out for, they had brought like a fire extinguisher. And when my friend came, because my own car park space is where my generator is, he parked, my next door neighbor has a car. So he parked almost this close to my generator house. So when I had come out and shouted, fire, fire, he rushed out to move his car. Now, later on, when everything had died down, he was saying he couldn't even remember how he was able to push the car a bit down towards the gates area. How my neighbor also came out, ran to push his car out before they started to look for extinguisher. All the stories, I didn't know. How somebody remembered to remove the fire, because they said the fire from the wire that connects from the generator to the meter already started burning. It was when I recovered myself that fire wasn't going out that I now ran. Because tell me why that day, there was no electricity, water that was running outside where we dry clothing, water stopped running. So after I got the first water and I poured this up, by the time we went back again, by the time I came back from my shocked mood, water that was running stopped running. So it was after I came out, they had finished one whole fire extinguisher. It didn't turn off, and I ran inside my bathroom. I took an entire water, brought out detergent, poured it. Before, as I was coming outside, that was when somebody else brought another. It was 3 fire extinguishers I used to put out that fire. And, all I kept thinking, like my body was shaking. Hey God. My body was shaking. I didn't have anything that whole day until my friend came back, because the one that was on the last episode, she stays in my distance as well. So she stayed at the other block. So she came and she was like, what's going on? She just saw that my generator is burnt and blah, 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 blah. And I started to tell her, thank God for my life. So she went and brought fruits and started to say this thing could have gotten worse. I know the way I'm saying it now is not as serious, and I'm smiling now because all I had on my lips that day was, see what the Lord has done. Would you see what the Lord has done? There was nothing. Because first of all, you guys, God wanted people to be around that day. So he made it a public holiday. I'm not saying it was not originally supposed to be a public holiday, but I am saying that when I said that podcast date, I didn't remember that it was a public holiday. I only said, let's meet next Monday. Also, we're supposed to use a studio in Worcester also. But we ended up not using the studio for a very rare day. I can't remember. And I just said, you know what, just come over to my house and we'll get it done. God wanted people to be around that day. Because, again, I work from home and I use generator when there's no electricity, like a lot. Meaning that this thing could have happened when my neighbors were not around. I don't have a car. So I don't even have a fire extinguisher. Okay, if it was in a normal work day, my neighbor was not going to be there. The other guys at the other block were not going to be around. So where the hell would I have gotten a fire extinguisher? And maybe would have gotten one and thought, oh yeah, one didn't put the fire out. So I would have paid for two people's cars. I would have started building a house for people. Before I would have now said, oh, okay, Mara, it's time for you to breathe and live for yourself. And I was just thinking several thoughts that day. Because this thing could have gotten worse. The person who removed the fire that was going into the meter is a person that came for the podcast. After he said he couldn't find his car. His car key was in his pocket, but he didn't remember at that point. So he entered the car and manually kicked it to the back. Before he came back and saw that fire already started going into the meter and he unplugged it. So me that went there to turn it off, I didn't remember to remove it. I didn't remember to remove it before. So apparently, while the fire was escalating, the fuel tank was still dripping fuel. So that was why it was a bit difficult to put out the fire for a while. This entire thing happened. I said, by the time they put out the fire, my neighbor came out because he uses glasses, and he was telling me that when he heard fire, he was sleeping. And he didn't remember at that point, like the eyes, when they see before, the eyes became really clear. That he jumped out of bed ran out, car key, entered something you would not see before, he entered by force. And I'm just really like, I'm grateful to God because maybe I would have died in that fire, because it took 3 fire extinguishers to put out that thing. And it was that contained because there was a generator house to contain the fire. Mind you, there were cars, people were around, it was a freaking public holiday, people were around, cars. I just kept thinking all the while that, what would have happened if it was, because they kept saying, oh, it was probably from the fixing, the guy fixed, so there was a wiring, and I'm like, do you know how to come inside? My body was shaking, my hands were shaking. I started to look for the receipts. I'm somebody who keeps receipts in my wallet. I go about with a wallet. Okay, it's there, it's on the floor. I go about with a wallet all the time. My phone receipt is in there. My laptop, my PC receipt is in there. Major things that I buy, major purchases that I know that once in a while you see me around it and problem can start. I keep it really close. Like, I started to look for it, was not in my wallet. I had to check my drawer. And I found it, and I said, I bought this generator brand new in 2021. I started working with my company February 2021. I had a generator I was using, the same fireman, but I think something had happened, and well, we used it for a while, for a very long time. And so they said I needed to buy half engine or something. I said, you know what, let's sell it and buy a new generator. I took a technician from my area to go and buy this thing. So it wasn't like I went there on my own. I didn't know what I wanted to buy. I knew I wanted to buy a generator that had enough capacity for my stuff. I also knew that I wanted something that I could rely on. I took out money and bought this thing July of 2021. So tell me why somebody came to fix a generator and you left. And then with power generator, nothing. All of a sudden, we started just caught fire. So it could have been a lot of things that day. What if I was the one with the kata? What if my guest who was supposed to be on the show had kata? I had kata as he did, and I couldn't perceive. What if I had not gone out the time I did? What if my neighbors, it was a normal work day and it was just me, and maybe my other 2 neighbors at the other end, none of us have cars. The other 2 ladies at the other block A, they don't have cars as well. So where the hell would we have gotten fire extinguishers from? So I'm just really thankful to God, because I know that God comes through for me in crazy ways. And before anything drastic happens to me, one way or another, God reveals it to people around me. And then I start to have frequent talk about the same thing over and over and over. And that's how I know that, this thing has to be checked. Because earlier this year, after that thing happened, when I was frozen for that few seconds that I stood and I was like this, I couldn't move. All I kept thinking was, Sharon called me. I couldn't remember if it was late last year or early this year. Sharon called me because she said she had a dream that there was fire close to my window. And at the time, what I was having problem with was one of my, I think the switch for the, as meant for the, what do you call that thing? AC, yes, was having problem. The thing melted inside. So what I did was I cut it off. Since it wasn't pulling out, I cut it off and I said I was going to call an electrician. And I didn't for a while. So when she called me and said she had a dream, I was thinking several things. And then all of a sudden, last month, I was also getting worried that, we need to find permanent places for this fuel. So I had been complaining constantly. And my partner has also been saying, I don't like how this thing is directly under your meter. So we've been having this conversation over and over. And so when that fire thing started, that minute that I froze from shock, all I kept thinking was Sharon. Sharon called me. Sharon said this thing. Sharon said this thing. And so when they put out the fire and I came inside, my body was shaking, my hands were shaking. And I sat down. The only person I could call at that point was Sharon. And she came. She came from work and she was just saying she's sorry that morning she had thought about me and she didn't call me, which was the same thing that happened at the time. So, and well, bottom line is, I'm just really thankful that God came through for me. He showed me mercy because I am not a saint. I try my best, and I know that I see what God does for me. Like, I see what He does for me on a steady how even the flimsy things, I just tell God, oh, I want electricity today, and then it happens. People laugh. I make it seem like, oh, I'm making a mockery, but it is not. And sometimes I could just say something and then it happens and I'm like, okay, this is God. Or I'm complaining that my internet is not working. I'm like, God, what? Like I literally call God for everything. I call God for everything. It may seem really silly. I could literally be having pain in my bum and I'm saying, God, please, what is this pain? And because my mind goes into an overdrive every time that I start to worry about something. So because I was thanking God, after I finished giving thanks to God, the devil wanted to now start telling me, but why is it that every time it seems like you're making a headway, you take 2 steps forward and then somehow something happens to take you 10 steps backward? And I started to lament on how, oh, I'm now going to start looking for money to buy a new generator. I haven't even saved for my rent because I just got laptop and phone in this 1 year. How much is my salary? I'm not even making money. Like I started to think about, I'm not even making money from YouTube. I'm not making money from writing anymore. You know, the books I have written, I'm not even selling. And what I wanted to do in that instance was disappear. In short, I was going to delete, so my mind goes into an overdrive. Like I started to, this is after I had given thanks. After my friends had come and really thanked God for me. And, you know, this thing could have been worse if it had happened any other day. Because what my neighbor was saying was, if it was something he did, or he didn't tighten the fuel, whatever, or that the voltage of the generator was too high, so it caused a spark or something in the generator, it could have happened anytime. And again, because my work is usually into the night, it could have happened anytime. And if it had happened at night, or when nobody was at home, it would have been worse. You know, so, and then my mind started to, you know, play that trick on me on how, oh, I was just thanking God for how I was able to achieve a lot for myself this year. I got the gadgets that I wanted. My computer has graphics card. It does work. It turns like, this is the most seamless stuff I had gotten with my money. And now that I'm supposed to say, okay, I have a few months to put money together for my rent for next year, and I have the generator thing to deal with. And only by myself, I just knock sense into my head back like, oh wait, after you have finished thanking God that God didn't allow the 2 cars that were packed close to this thing burn. God didn't allow the fire get into the roof or the meter or electricity. If electricity had come at that point, what would I have done? And then I was also worried that, okay, what if electricity had come? See, it was just a lot of things. And then because I didn't have power to work that day, I took an overtime to work on that first. So my neighbor was saying, how would your company, I think you need to send them an email and blah, blah, blah. And I kept thinking, the God that's been saving me would save me. And so when I lay down, I couldn't do anything, but my neighbor, if I brought me fruit. So I had that. And, you know, I just wanted to disappear again. Like I said, I wanted to just go somewhere and hide myself and just remain there, because how can I be working so hard to see that, oh, everything balances for me, and now I have one big major expenses to deal with. So it was a lot. I went on my Instagram. I was about to, but what I did was I uninstalled my Instagram. So my Mara Abutu is actually not connected. But again, I was going to do something to Rave with Mara podcast, but you know what? The next day I woke up and I said, the devil is a liar, because the devil is going to take away this praise from my lips. Whether or not I have so much expenses that I don't plan for right now. I believe that the disaster could have been a lot more worse, but it happened that the only thing that got damaged was the generator. And so this is me saying or coming to give thanks. Yes, and telling you guys that you guys should help me and thank God, because it could have been worse. You know, all of these things I've mentioned, it could have been worse. It could have been worse. And that day, they brought electricity just 2 hours after that. And I was able to work my overtime. I didn't even have to, because I kept saying, if I write an email and tell them I can't work for a while because I need to get a new generator and blah, 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 blah. It also does mean that my mind is not going to focus on any other thing but the damage of the generator, forgetting that there are these other big things that God has delivered me from. So yeah, that's it. That's all I have for you guys for today. Yeah, do everything you need to do. Subscribe on the YouTube, follow on Spotify, Rave Podcast. Also follow my Instagram, Rave Podcast, and yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for always raving with me. And again, please don't forget to say a thank you, Lord Jesus, to God on my behalf, because it could have been worse. See you next week. Bye-bye.